There comes a moment in every life when noise becomes too heavy and silence becomes the only doorway to strength. Today, we step into that doorway. Today, we uncover the 5 rules of silence that make you powerful, drawn from the timeless wisdom of Lao Tzu. These are not just ideas, they are tools, weapons, paths, ways of living that can reshape your inner world and transform the way you walk through life. Rule 1. Silence teaches you to observe the truth behind all things. Silence is not empty. Silence is full. And Lao Tzu understood this long before the world was filled with the modern noise we drown in today. Notifications, opinions, conflicts, and pressure disguised as achievement. In the first rule of silence, we learn that silence teaches you to observe the truth behind all things. Not the surface, not the words people speak, not the faces they show, but the energy beneath them. Most people listen to respond. They watch to judge. They observe to compare. But a person who has mastered silence watches the world in a different way. They do not rush toward conclusions. They do not leap toward assumptions. They allow the moment to breathe, and in that breathing, truth reveals itself. Lao Tzu said, "Silence is a source of great strength." What he meant is simple. The one who is not frantic inside cannot be manipulated outside. When your mind is no longer racing, you begin to notice everything. Patterns, intentions, the movements of people, the layers of reality. You notice who lies without speaking, who fears without showing, who struggles without saying a word. Silence gives you sight in places where sound blinds you. Imagine standing at the edge of a calm lake. When the water is still, you see everything clearly: the mountains, the sky, your own reflection. But the moment the surface becomes disturbed, clarity disappears. The lake is your mind, and silence is the stillness that reveals truth. Most people live with a lake full of storms. They cannot see clearly, not because the truth is hidden, but because their noise covers it. This is why the most powerful people say less. They observe more. They sit in silence not because they lack answers, but because they want better ones. And this is where your transformation begins. If you can train yourself to pause before reacting, to breathe before judging, to watch before assuming, you become unshakable. Silence becomes a shield. Silence becomes a teacher. Silence becomes your greatest ally in a world that constantly demands noise from you. This rule teaches you to detach from the chaos around you and enter the deeper layers of perception. Walk into a room and stay silent. Listen, not just with your ears, but with your inner awareness. Observe without ego. Notice without needing to interpret instantly. When you do this, you will start to understand the world in ways you never imagined. You will see what others miss. You will hear what others ignore. You will feel what others fear to confront. And in that awareness, you gain power, not over others, but power over yourself. Because when you know the truth, you do not fear anything. Rule 2. Silence gives you mastery over your emotions. The second rule of silence is one of the most profound. Silence is the foundation of emotional mastery. Lao Tzu believed that the person who controls their inner world controls their outer reality. And the person who cannot control themselves will always be controlled by circumstances, by people, by fear, by desire, by doubt. We live in a world where emotions erupt instantly. Anger, jealousy, anxiety, impatience. Everyone wants to react first, speak first, respond fast, defend themselves, justify themselves. But a person who studies silence learns a different rhythm. They slow down, they breathe, they wait. They feel their emotions rise and fall like waves, and instead of being swept away, they stand still at the center. Silence gives you the space to watch your emotions instead of becoming them. This is one of the greatest powers a human being can achieve. When someone insults you, silence allows you to see their pain instead of attacking back. When life becomes overwhelming, silence gives you space to reset instead of breaking down. When your mind starts spiraling, silence gives you a place to rest, observe, and return to clarity. Lao Tzu taught that the greatest warriors are silent inside, not empty of feeling, but free from the chaos of feeling. Silence does not erase your emotions, it allows you to understand them. Your anger becomes a message, your fear becomes a guide, your sadness becomes a teacher, your joy becomes a reminder. When you are silent, each emotion passes like a cloud drifting across a vast sky. None of them control you. Think of silence as the space between lightning and thunder, the moment of clarity before the reaction. Most people never find that space, but if you learn to settle into it, even for a few seconds, you gain the ability to choose your response, rather than be ruled by impulse. And when you can choose your response, everything changes. Your relationships change, your decisions change, your future changes. A silent mind is a sovereign mind. You cannot be manipulated, you cannot be provoked, you cannot be intimidated or misled. You become like a mountain, weathered, unshaken, and deeply rooted. The storms come, but the mountain remains, and that is the essence of emotional mastery. Rule 3. Silence makes you deeply aware of yourself. The third rule of silence is the most people avoid because it is the hardest and also the most transformative. Silence reveals who you truly are. Most people run from themselves. They fill their days with distraction, noise, entertainment, responsibilities, drama, scrolling, talking, consuming, anything to keep them from hearing the voice inside. But silence strips away the layers. Silence shows you your truth, your wounds, your strengths, your fears, your dreams, your patterns. And sometimes this is uncomfortable, but it is necessary. Because a person who does not know themselves cannot guide their own life. Lao Tzu taught that wisdom begins with self-awareness. Not self-criticism, not self-doubt, self-awareness. Silence allows you to sit with your spirit, to look into the places you have avoided, to confront the thoughts you bury, to understand the desires you hide. Silence is a mirror, and in that mirror, you meet the person you have always been beneath the noise. This is where growth begins. This is where healing begins. This is where transformation begins. When you sit in silence long enough, your intuition grows louder. Your clarity sharpens. Your priorities become obvious. You begin to see what matters and what doesn't. You realize you are not your past. You are not your mistakes. You are not the expectations of others. You are something deeper, something ancient, something powerful, something connected to the same natural wisdom that Lao Tzu spoke of thousands of years ago. In silence, you begin to notice your patterns, why you react the way you do, why certain people trigger you, why certain dreams call to you, why certain habits hold you back, why certain paths feel wrong even when they look right. Silence shows you the structure of your inner world, and once you see it, you can rebuild it. Self-awareness is not about judging yourself. It is about understanding yourself, because the person who understands themselves becomes impossible to break. They move with purpose. They live with intention. They know which battles are worth fighting and which storms are illusions. And this is why silence is not just peaceful, it is powerful. It reconnects you to the deepest version of yourself. And that version of you is unstoppable. Rule 4. Silence makes your words more powerful. The fourth rule is one of the most practical and also the most misunderstood. The more silent you are, the more powerful your words become. We live in an era where people speak constantly, explaining, defending, complaining, arguing, narrating every detail of their life. Words are thrown around carelessly, losing their meaning, losing their weight. But Lao Tzu understood that true power does not come from speaking off. It comes from speaking with purpose. Silence gives your words gravity. Silence makes people listen when you speak. Silence turns your voice into something rare, something valuable. A person who is always talking creates noise, but a person who speaks after thinking, speaks after observing, speaks from inner clarity, that person creates impact. Think about the leaders, mentors, or wise people you admire. They rarely speak just to fill the air. They choose their words carefully. They pause. They reflect. They speak from a place of calm authority. Their words hit harder because they are forged in silence before they are delivered. Lao Tzu believed that words born from silence carry truth. Words born from chaos carry illusion. When you speak from silence, you speak from your center, not from your insecurity. You speak from wisdom, not from impulse. You speak from strength, not from fear. Imagine two people in a conflict. One reacts immediately, raising their voice, fueled by emotion. The other stays silent for a moment, watching, breathing, thinking, and then speaks with calm, with clarity, with control. Which one has power? Which one takes the lead? Which one shapes the outcome? Silence sharpens your communication. It helps you speak less, but say more. It helps you use words that build instead of destroy, words that heal instead of harm, words that guide instead of confuse. And most importantly, silence teaches you that you don't always need to speak. Some things don't need a response. Some battles don't need your energy. Some arguments don't deserve your presence. When silence becomes your default state, your words become a choice, not a reaction. And choices create power. The fifth and final rule is the essence of Lao Tzu's philosophy. Silence connects you to the natural flow of life, to the Tao, to the rhythm of existence that moves without force, without struggle, without noise. This rule teaches that silence is not just the absence of sound, it is the presence of alignment. When you are silent inside, you begin to move with life rather than against it. You stop forcing outcomes. You stop chasing validation. You stop fighting the current and instead learn to float on it. Lao Tzu taught that water is the perfect symbol of wisdom, soft yet strong, quiet yet unstoppable, yielding yet powerful enough to shape mountains. Silence turns you into water. It helps you adapt, adjust, flow, and remain centered no matter what life brings. In silence, you hear the guidance of your intuition. You feel the timing of things. You sense when to act and when to wait, when to push and when to release, when to speak and when to stay silent. Life becomes less of a battle and more of a dance. The world moves and you move with it. Instead of resisting, instead of forcing, instead of panicking, instead of overthinking. Silence roots you in the present moment, and the present moment is where life actually happens. It is where opportunities appear. It is where clarity is born. It is where peace resides. Lao Tzu believed that when a person becomes silent inside, they become one with nature, calm, aware, intuitive, unshaken. Their actions become simple yet effective. Their decisions become clear and effortless. Their presence becomes calming to others. They walk through life with a quiet confidence, a natural strength, a deep wisdom. This is the highest form of power, not domination, not control, not force, but inner alignment. When you master silence, you master yourself, and when you master yourself, you become unstoppable in a world that is constantly trying to pull you off your path. In the end, silence is not emptiness. It is the birthplace of strength, wisdom, and inner power. Step into it and let it transform you. Like, share, comment, subscribe. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed today's video. If you liked what you saw, don't forget to hit that like button, thumbs up. Share this video with your friends. Upload, share. Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Bubble speech icon. And of course, subscribe for more awesome content. Bell notification icon.